Welcome aboard, folks. I'm Stephen Malkowich, your captain on this adventure called Ship of Fools. I'm a fool. Lucky for you, I'm not sailing solo. Join me and a boatload of people, all just trying to make sense of this crazy world. It's a fabulous mess, and you're invited. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to Ship of Fools, where wit meets wisdom. The wonderful thing about this podcast is that I get to talk to whoever I want to talk to when I want to talk to them, and someone that I find very interesting. And I will run across these individuals all the time, and everyone's got a story to tell, and Jimmy Crescenzo is one of them.
Thank you.
Jimmy, welcome to Ship of Fools. Welcome
Thank
aboard,
you very
my friend.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming. You are a man about town. When I talk about man about town, I mean a man in the community. And you are probably the most well-known for your establishment of the East End Boys Club.
Yeah, maturity.
And everyone, and it's not that I'm, I've been out in Surrey. I've been kind of everywhere in the newspaper business. I've heard your name a few times, but never, and through mutual acquaintances and the like.
Here we are.
And here we are. And what I'd like to talk, let's just start talking about your life and where you were born, where you were brought up.
Okay.
Start there.
So, born and raised in Vancouver. My family immigrated from Italy in 1956. I was born in 58. My brother, my sister, we all grew up in East Van. I was 8 years old when my father passed away from an illness. It was sudden and it was quick. And I watched my whole life before me, and for my brother, my sister, and for my mom change. And it was horrible. It was a horrible experience. And it's nothing other than to say my mom did an amazing job, but she was really affected by the death. And that's because in those days, especially coming from Italy, that if you lost your husband, that you would have to wear black your entire life. And that's what my mom did up until 1985.
Wow.
And wore black all the time. As a family, we would never go to a birthday party of a relative. We would never go as an entire family to go to a wedding, a funeral, prayers the night before. And for my mom, it was all about making sure that she was respectful of her husband that passed. And now, regardless of whether you have 3 kids under the age of 13, those things didn't happen anymore for us. And if we went to a wedding or we had to go to a funeral or the prayers the night before, my mom would stay at home and she would make sure that we went. And, when I look back, I go, oh, man, we were so cheated in so many ways. But she demonstrated for us as a family that you love your kids and you will do whatever it takes to make sure that they are well taken care of and that they're going to be successful, when they move on with their lives. But it was a hard time for me. One of the reasons why I started the Boys Club program was because I grew up near Garden Park and Clinton Park. So Garden Park, they had a soccer league for elementary school kids, anywhere from, 5 years old all the way up to 12. And then after that house league there at Garden Park, you would then go and try out for the Grandview Legion soccer program, which they had at Clinton Park. So the thing that I remember the most, even when I was playing soccer at Garden Park as an elementary school kid, I had to go sign up on my own. My mom didn't want me to play. She thought I was going to get hurt. And I went all by myself signing up for soccer. And I remember looking around and everybody else that was playing that day had their fathers there and their mothers. Well, my mom's not going out to watch a soccer game. My dad's gone. And I just remember looking on the sideline and go, there's nobody there for me. So when I went to try out for the 13-year-old team, Grandview Legion, it was at Clinton Park. And I wanted to play so badly. I had all my friends that were, trying out, and so many of them were really good players. You knew they made it. And at the end of the last practice, Rick Simons had said, he's a prick, excuse my language, but
It's all right.
what a loser. Anyway, so he was the coach of this Grandview team. He had all his favorites, And so, okay, boys, let's get going here. Do some drills, but now we're going to go and play an inter-squad game right now amongst there's 20-some-odd people that are only vying for 15 spots. So we did. But I was scared of him. And I remember, and this does all mean something when it comes back to my program. But I remember him saying, okay, practice over. I want all you guys to come around the trunk of my car, and I'm going to hand out the people that make the team jerseys and socks and pants, right? So you know where this is going.
Yeah.
Number 1, starting in goal, Paul Anthasi, the guys. And then boom, 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 boom. Now we go to the 3 or 4 extras that are going to be on the sidelines. And I had nobody. He had never heard my name. And I just remember my heart sinking. And I looked at Mr. Rosenland. And Mr. Rosenland was the assistant coach. And I'll never forget the stare that he gave me. So I looked around. The guys that got cut all had their dads with the cars, just go to McDonald's, get something to eat, And there I was, walking home from Garden Park. It was the longest walk. I'll never forget it. And it was only a 7-8 minute walk. And I took my time. And once I got off the field, I cried for the next 45 minutes before I decided to go home. And that walk inspired me to build a program like the East End Boys Club Society, which is our program now. And it's to help at-risk young men between the ages of, 12 and 19. And, but that walk, that taught me this incredible empathy and compassion that I wanted to have for young men, teenagers, and to make sure they're pointed in the right direction. And so for me, that was my sense of purpose. So people say, well, why did you start this thing? What about a girls program? Well, we did. We launched a girls program 2 years ago. And so my wife was taking that on along with 2 other teachers. So we had, a lot of success. But for me, just that emptiness, and I'll move on to something else. But Mr. Rosenland, who looked at me when I got cut, and I looked at him, he looked at me, and I go, I don't know. Okay, turned around, went home. Just over about 5 years ago, I went to watch a Whitecaps reserve soccer game. And I'll never forget, this guy looked at me, and I go, holy shit. And he walks over, and it's Mr. Rosenland. I go, Mr. Rosenland, how you doing? And he goes, Jimmy, good, man. I hear what you're doing with kids and stuff. I just want to tell you that I was so fucking angry at Rick Simons for cutting you, knowing full well what you were going through. And I'll never forgive him for that. And he said, my heart broke when I looked at you and your name wasn't called. So these are things that can light a torch under somebody's ass, right? And for me, I said, that's it. I'm doing this for the rest of my life. So I built a theater program at Templeton. I built a film program. Built 3 studios there. Raised money to do all of that. And I said, I never want to see a kid go through what I went through. Mm-hmm. I never want to see that again. So my hero in all of that was my mom.
Yeah.
So
for people meeting you the first time, that's kind of what drives you.
Yeah.
Right? That's what drives you. That's what makes you go.
Yeah.
But you do have a few hats that you wear though.
Yeah.
Like you're a school teacher.
I was, yeah.
You were a school teacher. Obviously a community leader. You've done some acting.
Mm-hmm. 30 years, crazy business. Eh?
Yeah. So what led you in the direction of teaching, of becoming a teacher?
Well, the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Never want to have a young man feel like I did that way home, that big cry, 45 minutes of pain, feeling sorry for myself, playing the victim. You know, I did all that. And then at that young of an age, you know, something clicked for me where they said, okay, why don't you go try and fix it? Give it a shot. And so when I went to high school, and I went to Templeton High School where I taught after that, I remember going into the school and I could play soccer. Like what ended up happening with all those guys that got cut from Rick Simon's soccer team, we formed another team. We got a call from a guy named Jack Phelan. He says, hey, I know that Mr. Simons, you know, I left you off the list, but I'm calling all you guys because we're going to make another team. And I couldn't believe it. And there I was on the same field with a man that was a big, tough East Ender, and he made me feel, and all the other guys feel safe, you know?
Mm-hmm.
In those days, all those men on the sidelines yelling and screaming at kids and swearing, and, you know. But I remember Mr. Phelan's right there. You go up to somebody and say, hey, I would keep your mouth shut, man, because you're going to pay the price. And I just thought, whoa, dad figure.
And give you some confidence, too.
Yeah, and he did. So anyway, so I went to become a school teacher, but I didn't want to teach just anywhere. It's a bizarre story. So what I did was I wanted to go back to Templeton because the drama program I felt a part of, and they pulled me in. And I had such a great time. I made a great group of friends within the program. There was a great teacher. His name was Lee Taylor. He's passed now, but he went on to become he was an amazing stage actor. And he really helped me. He kicked my ass when I needed it. And when I went back to see him after I graduated from university and had a degree in theater, he was very proud of me. And, you know, what you say to a kid from the standpoint of an adult to a kid, that's pretty, like, impacting stuff. And you got to be careful with what you say. But he made me feel like I had accomplished something. And it was very cool. So anyway, I did that. I went back into the school system. I said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to build a theater program, and I'm going to help all the kids that don't have a place to have an outlet. Why don't we do something here? And then I said, the very first night that I was bringing stuff from my house and putting it into the drama place, which was a shitty portable, and these two kids came by to see me, knock on the door. One guy was Carlos Ciotti, and knocked on the door. Hey, Miss Crescenzo, hey, man, I've been waiting for you. When all the guys talking about you grew up in East Van, man. Hey, I play football, but I want to be an actor, you know? And I said, really? Okay, cool. And who else you got here? My name's Oscar Goncalves, you know? And all these guys went on to have really good careers. And the other one was Michael Farah. And Michael Farah is a really well-known director in stage. Anyway, so we did. I said, what do you guys want to do? He said, well, you know what? We've been going to these, we went to a drama festival last year and a year before that, but we never won anything. And he says, you know, fuck, we want to do a play that we feel inspired to do. And I said, okay, well, let's look for something. And so we did. And found something that they wanted to do together. It's called Rats by Israel Horovitz. And it's got some violence in it, but it's all about, you know, trying to get to the top and the price you have to pay to get there. And was it worth it when you got there? And so these four guys, Michael Farah graduated the year before. He came back. He was directing. We oversaw it. And we went on to win, for the very first time at Templeton, was the drama festival, the city. Then we went to the provincial, and then we entered the show in an adult festival. And the show won, and they were so blown away by these kids. And I had to show the guys that, you know, they always hear these bullshit stories about dreaming. If you can dream it, it'll happen. I don't think so. If you dream it and you break it down and you start setting goals for yourself, then that's a different story. But that's where all the work has to come in. And so by doing that with the play, I said, see, you can do it. We can all do it. Let's figure it out. So that's kind of where, in the theater festival, we did so well, all the time. But anyway, the most important thing was turning around these kids and giving kids an opportunity to become the better you, the better me.
When did you start the club?
Drama?
No, the
Eastern Boys Club? About 11 years ago.
11 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were doing the drama. You started the drama club.
Whiter. 1981 at Templeton.
At Templeton. Okay.
So I was still teaching drama and film when I was started the Boys Club program.
Okay. So what was the impetus for the East End Boys Club? What kind of pushed you over and said, listen, man,
you got to do this.
Got to do this, because it's...
Yeah, good point. Because you know what I found? Whenever you do something with kids, they want to look at the guy and go, hey, are you one of those guys that, how can I put it to you? Are you one of those guys that becomes a teacher because they couldn't have become an actor? Those who can, those, whatever that is, can't, and they don't can't. So that's what happened to me. And I remember the kids looking at me going, so what do you know about acting? I said, high school, acting. And I said, yeah. And I thought, you know what? I did a lot of high school stuff, but I also did university stuff. But it wasn't up to the caliber that I felt. Because with kids, they call the shots sometimes. They're looking at you going, okay, you got any proof? Not in so many words. So
in essence, saying, why should I listen to you?
Yeah, why should I listen to you? Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, I'm going to go and audition for an agent and see if I can. The movie stuff was just kind of starting to come up. It wasn't crazy good yet. And I said, okay, I'll check it out and I'll do some stuff, I'm sure, and I'll show to the kids. And so that's what I did. I got out, I got an agent, but the agent didn't sign me right away. He wanted to see me in a show or see something on stage. So in 81, 82, my first year teaching, I did a play called Chicago, the musical, within a group. And we were playing in a theater just on the west side of town. I said, okay, I better go do this show. Mm-hmm. I'll audition. A friend of mine was building the set, and he says, fuck, you should come on out here, do this. So I auditioned for the show. I get a part, and I ended up bringing my theater kids to work on the show. And Chicago had all these beautiful set pieces that were on wheels. Turn them around, now it's a cell block girl scene, And so the boys, I brought them with me, and they created so many problems, but they took them under their wing, They thought, this is what we're all about, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, I did that. In 85, I went and did the same show, but at the Queen Elizabeth Theater, and had a really terrific part. Did that. Kids came to see the show. Okay.
Now you got some cred.
I got some credibility.
Yeah.
Because they look at you and go, come on, really? Yeah. Anyway, so why I started the Boy Scout, because in theater, I played to all the people that were outgoing and gregarious, and then the ones that weren't like that, and they were more introverted. The theater thing, well, they would do, okay, I'll do sound, or I'll do lighting. Then what we did was I said, okay, it's not good. I need to reach more kids. And I said, I want to get all those kids that are quiet, all the young ladies and the Asian kids that, these are terrible things to say, but this was, I was having these conversations in a staff cafeteria when teachers used to go, well, Jimmy, fine, you look at all that, all that theater stuff you do, but here, let me give you a piece of advice. Go learn how to speak Cantonese and Mandarin. I said, what the fuck are you talking about? He said, well, all the Asian kids after Expo 86, they were coming in and buying all the 33 by 120 foot lots. And then the Italians sold those and to Burnaby and Coquitlam and building houses on 50 foot lots, So I was able to get a lot of the young ladies, a lot of the Asian kids to come in and do the film stuff.
Mm.
Because you don't have to be an actor. You can hold the boom mic and, the scene.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. But then I said, but you know what? I'm walking outside and I got all these guys that are the tough guys, smoking too much pot, smoking cigarettes, getting into fights, and they're all in front of the school. And I go, I want to get those guys. The theater's not doing it. Film's not doing it. Think back, Jimmy, when you lost your father, the presence of an adult male in a young man's life can be life-changing. And so, okay, I want to target those guys. And that's what we did. We brought these young men in. A lot of people say, well, you mean you're going to take all these gangsters, motorcycles, or, all bad kids? And I said, no, you know what? I said, here it is, bro. I said, we're going to go after the kids that are in and out of the gang world. We're going to go after we're going to create the program that will bring in kids that are, boys that are starting to have a hard time with addiction issues. Then the really tough kids to deal with were the ones that they had no inspiration, no motivation, no aspiration to do something positive and to figure out what can I find something for my future that I can get excited about doing. Mm-hmm. And then we had the fourth group, which were boys that were pretty smart guys. They were average students, but we wanted to teach them to go to the next level. But they had no connections with anything other than, what I mean by that is when their fathers came home, they came home with a shovel and their work boots, right? They didn't come home with a white shirt and a tie, and they're lawyers and doctors. And so those are the guys that we need to figure out, how do we present them with these opportunities where we can have a company of lawyers that believe in the work we're doing, and then they would kind of take the kids and mentor them. And so that was what I set out to do, is to find connections in the community. And if I've got kids like, Joey Santola over here, he's a really smart kid, but he doesn't know anybody that's a lawyer. He doesn't know anybody's family. Who, doctor? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so
it started with looking at those young men
that were lost.
And who you didn't do this by yourself. It wasn't just you. You had to have others believe in it.
I had an administrator, a vice principal of a school. His name was Walter Mustapich. And Walter and I sort of started the boys' club together. But I said, Walt, we got to do something with these young men, man. We're losing them. They're not joining up for clubs, they're not joining soccer teams and sports. They're hanging around, and Friday nights they're on the street, right? Mm-hmm. And they're fighting.
Finding trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, finding trouble. And you're attempting what you're trying to do. And sports, this segues into various sports too. And we initially started talking about boxing.
Yeah.
And
which is very cool, by the way.
Yeah.
I know the work you're doing with a guy like Sage. That's pretty special.
It is. We had that conversation when we had on the phone, and and I didn't know your background. I didn't know that you lost your father, and I didn't it took me a long time to realize in my life, I didn't have my mother's still alive. My father's passed away. I didn't have the greatest relationship with my mother.
Yeah.
But the one thing she was Layla Lyon. Like she, and she's the one that, she registered me for university.
She did, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was, but I
Thank
had
her.
Yeah. And I had the mother and the father, or the tradition, like a positive female role model in my life and a positive male role model in my life that I could look to.
Yeah.
And I took it for granted that, everybody
does. Yeah.
Because you don't know, right?
You don't know until it's gone, right?
Till it's gone. And you don't realize how important that is.
Yeah.
And then you see all these kids that you don't know what their story is.
No.
What they're, you don't. And and I, busy raising my own kids. We've got 4 combined of our own.
Wow.
And we like I always think, we always say, well, none of them went to jail. Is that a low bar? I don't know. But that I know of.
I don't mean to laugh.
Yeah, but that's
funny.
that's a low bar. But the thing is that you don't realize how difficult it is, and how now that you're at this age, how difficult it was for your mother.
Oh,
Okay, and now you do, and you go, geez, it's a tough life, and a lot of these kids that you see that for instance, and I'm not going to say sports is the easiest, because it could be theater, it could be whatever, but just to garner that opportunity and to have someone that believes in them and said, hey man, here, give this a shot, give it a try.
absolutely.
And maybe, you can't afford the skates, you can't afford the uniform or whatever it is, or you can't afford the lessons or whatever it takes, the piano lessons or whatever it is. Because everything costs money, and as we've seen, it costs more and more money. Like, it's just like, one of I was this came up again. You must know Ray Goldenchild. You know Ray? No.
Who's
He's Mr. Soccer. He's one of Jesse's buddies.
Oh,
and we had him on quite a while ago talking about FIFA and the World Cup.
yeah.
And he has a big problem with it. And at that time, I didn't realize that they were taking all of the AstroTurf out of BC Place and putting real grass in there, and then taking all the real grass out and putting the AstroTurf back in, and doing the same thing with soccer fields around East Van and the area. And I don't know what they're going to do with the people that live there when the World Cup comes. Like,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and see, because I didn't pay much attention to that. And his thing was, it's all about legacy. Okay, I'm all in favor of this thing here, but what are you doing for the kids? Like, what are you leaving for the kids? Are you leaving, are you leaving little, like, there's abandoned tennis courts, turn those into soccer pitches, that kind of stuff. And I go, well, yeah, that just, it makes sense. We wonder why, idle hands are the devil's workshop, but also without the proper guidance and mentorship, like being like young, and it was tough back then, but now it's even worse. And like, Manny Sobro, who we both know, and Manny's a super, super guy, and him telling the story about that little fat kid walking up to the boxing, and sitting there staring in the window and hey, get in here, kid, kind of thing, and finding some purpose and finding somebody, come on, now you're part of a club that here. We give a shit about you.
Absolutely.
And that's, there's no criminal intent there. There's nothing like that.
No.
And that kind of gives me goosebumps when I hear those stories, because that's our future.
Absolutely.
And we have to, I lived by this. I was fortunate. I was very fortunate, Jimmy, because I was exposed to a lot of things. Like, my mother used to take me to theater. I grew up in Southern Manitoba.
Right,
Yeah, she used to take me to theater in Winnipeg. Just her and I.
That's cool.
She'd take me, she took me to see Liberace.
No.
Oh
way.
yeah. Like she just, and both, I hated, she wanted me to play piano.
Yeah.
She wanted me to be a priest too. We're going to get some laughs here.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just, that was also promised to me by my mother.
I was brought up very Catholic.
That's beautiful. Were you?
Oh, very Catholic.
Yeah.
Altar boy till I was 22.
Oh, you did?
Man. Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah. Bless me, Father. For
If I have sinned.
Oh, yeah.
I went for confession recently for Christmas, and the opening thing is, in the name of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been this long since I went to confession. I just changed that whole thing, because I wasn't about to tell him I've been to confession in 15, 20 years, right? Then for sure he's going to tell you you're going to hell.
Yeah, exactly. You can't say enough Hail Marys and Our Fathers for that, son. But I
got to interrupt just for a second, because it's a great thing that Ronnie Ferrato was an East Ender, and he used to say, "Hey, Jimmy, good to see you." I say, yeah, well, it's all good, bro. What's going on? So I went to church, and I saw his wife and his 2 kids, Ronnie's kids. And then, jokingly, I said to his kids, I said, "Hey, where's your dad?" And he goes, "Well, my dad told me that what I have is something called ATM." And I said, "What the hell's the ATM?" ATM means that he has accumulated time off because he was an altar boy for so long that he could take time off. Like, who the hell talks like that? ATM. And the kid believed every second of it. Oh, anyway.
Of course.
Sorry about that.
And but that was, and that's why, with the, and you must know Silveria too.
Yes.
You know Silveria.
She's a character boy.
And the first time we went to the Catholic school.
Yeah.
And Silveria, I'd met her a few times before that, but she caught wind that, as a Dogan Catholic.
Yeah.
And she's taken me into their beautiful chapel that they have in there. And she's like, "You see all that?" And I said, "Listen, man." I said, just listen, okay? Because I got stories I could tell you, okay? But I don't want to get into it here, okay? But I am Catholic, but I'm not the best Catholic in the world, okay? But we're allowed, but the church in my world, I have two older sisters. It was like that was it. It was the church.
Yeah.
And now I know because we moved around a lot. My dad was his first part of his career was he was with the Department of Indian Affairs.
Oh, wow.
For the federal government. So he moved around a lot in the province of Manitoba. And then finally, it was in the mid 70s or so. He had been with them for a long time. And we'd been up north, and my mom and my dad, they had a big fight, and they were trying to send him back up to Thompson, Manitoba. And I remember my mom just saying, "Fine, good luck. See you later," taking the kids.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So he quit, and he bought a hotel in southern Manitoba to drive in a theater, and that was that, and that's how it worked. Wow. But the thing is that that was just a long way of saying that when we moved around, the first thing, my mother would always find is the church, the Catholic Church. And then you had instant friends, right? That's the way she did that. You had an instant family. And that's what the church represented is that, it just happened that, the baddest kids
in Manitoba,
like I had numerous instances growing up and being threatened to go to St. Paul's High School, which was an all boys Catholic school. And finally it was to the point where you're going, and I was driving with my dad. We were going for the third time. And I just said, I think I was probably about 13 or 14. And it wasn't because I was good. It wasn't because I was being a good boy.
Yeah.
It's because I was being bad, real bad, and got caught doing some dumb shit. And I said to him, I said, Dad, like, you send me there and I'm just going to get better at what I'm bad at. And he understood that. He did.
That's a cool statement. I've never heard that.
And he said to me, he goes, "Okay, we'll talk to your mother, but you got to just be decent to the priests we're going to be meeting with her." And I was, and he talked to Mom, and that was that. And I tried to keep my nose clean for the rest of,
Nice.
But the thing is that I always had like I always remember my father saying this, bless his heart, when I'd be fighting with my mom. This is back in the day when I was still going to university or whatever I was, involved in. And he, no matter screaming match between the two of us, and he'd always say, no matter what, son, you have a roof over your head, you have a bed, no matter what happens. That's right. And he'd say, no matter what, okay, no matter what, you always have a home, you have a place to stay. And I know you and your mother say some pretty great, because he'd always just sit back and go,
watch and listen.
And I remember their 25th wedding anniversary, sitting out on the deck, and going listening to my dad, and the house is full, and because we owned a hotel, we had a bunch of people over.
Yeah.
And I go, "How do you stay married to her for this long?"
No.
Oh yeah, I said that to him, and he says to me, he says, "Son, when you love someone, you love someone."
Wow.
And that's the same. It's the same thing about.
That's very cool.
Yeah, same thing about. I'm having this discussion about the Catholic faith.
Yeah.
And we're at at somebody's house for a great big barbecue, and Father Ron Passanato's sitting right there, and he was cool and stuff. But I had a couple of pops already, and my dad was having a couple of scotches, and this is just when all of the shit was coming out about the stuff in Boston. Okay. With the priests, and it wasn't good stuff. And I was having I was like 19 years old. I was having a problem with it, and I'm going to let you hear. And my dad was the one that I was going at it with Father Ron, who was a great guy. Was a
Wow.
great guy from Chicago, great guy. And he, and my dad interrupted that conversation, and he said some eloquent things. And one of them right there was, it was along the same lines as when you love someone, you either believe or you don't believe.
One or the other.
That's right.
Wow.
And I
Rocket.
I just went, yeah, you're right. Okay, if you don't believe, you don't believe. If you believe, you believe. I believe. I'm still, and I'll tell you something, and just talk about the Catholic faith here. My wife Trish and I, we've been to Rome, man. We've had some, and it's something special. There's something, and I'm not saying Catholics are better than everyone else, because that's what she says.
She tells you that.
You're a Protestant. That's what we were taught. You're a Protestant. You're not a Catholic. There's Catholics, there's Protestants, and then we got the Jews over here, and that's all right.
Yeah, it's
They're
okay.
Cool. Okay, but the thing is that I do, I'm not practicing, but I still feel it, and I believe there's a God. I believe there's a lot of things that I do that have guided me, and I haven't even known that they've guided me because of my upbringing. Okay, why'd you do that?
Right.
And I can say that, even I remember the first time my father came here to Vancouver. I moved out here in '94, and somebody would clean our windows. I was driving through East Van or something. And Dad would go, Dad would roll the window down, give him a $5 bill.
Yeah.
Well, Dad, that just encourages him.
Yeah.
I said, shut up.
Yeah, shut up.
He needs it.
Yeah.
He needs it. He needs it. That's the kind of guy he was.
Wow.
He just always.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I always have said this. If I could be half the guy he was, because he was very generous. He was it was always giving. He built a skateboard park in Brandon.
Wow.
Why?
Wow.
Like why? That's where he retired. But the kids were getting shit because they were riding their skateboards on the streets and stuff.
Yep.
So he went to City Hall. And he got a skateboard park, and after he passed away, I went there, and
They named it after him?
they named it after him and another guy.
Oh, isn't that great?
Beautiful, yeah.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah, and why? Why'd you?
Yeah.
Well, simple. They needed a place the kids needed a place to go skateboard.
Yeah.
And so I went. I didn't even know he'd done that.
Wow.
But so this stuff about so. When I heard about the stuff that you do with the East End Boys Club, what you've done with the theater, I wanted to have a chat. I wanted to have a talk with you. Also, and we happened to be at the same fight.
That's wild, eh?
Yeah, yeah. And
I was sitting with another friend of mine we brought, and I didn't know how that whole thing was going to...
The Buckskin Classic. Yeah.
I don't know how that was going to happen, because they do the boxing at the Italian Cultural Center in November. Mm-hmm. And that thing there, 700 people, boom, sold out. Yeah. People try to get in, they can't. But I watched that. And then Manny said, you got to come and see this, man, doing this buckskin thing. I said, sure, let's do it. And I did. And I just looked around. I couldn't believe that this event, there was a really great spirit about the night.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? It's hard to discuss, isn't it?
It is.
You can't, goosebumps are happening. But to watch those people, those young men, and to listen to the mums and the people that were watching, there was no boo or it was all a great evening. Yeah. And it's crazy if those guys don't do that again. It should be an annual thing.
They should. And it was like there was something there's something in the air.
Yeah.
And that was the first boxing match that my wife had seen, had been to live. Mm. I tried to get into the one the Italian one, but I couldn't. Anyway, but the thing is that they need to do that every year.
Yes, they do.
They're
onto something.
Yeah, they do, because it was like it was spiritual, man. Like it really was,
right.
And the culmination of that. And the kid we're talking about, Sage Johnson here.
Yeah.
Coming down in his regalia, and like that was wild stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
It was pretty cool. I got, man, this guy's too good looking to be a boxer. He's coming down the thing, he's dancing. Then he gets in the ring, and that's all cool. And then they start the fight, and the other guy, hits him, boom.
Yeah, it knocks him down.
Knocks him down. Then I'm going,
Uh.
uh-oh. Maybe this is not going to work out. And then,
Yeah.
sure enough.
Yeah, he came back.
God, that was even more important than the fight itself. It's just the overcoming that adversity.
Yeah.
Which I think is in his story.
That's right. And so, but those are the types of stories, those are the types of things that you want to see. Like like if you could have had your hands on that kid when he was 12 years old or 13 years old, and I'm not saying what if,
no,
kind of stuff,
but
that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
As a teacher, as
Absolutely.
a mentor, you want to bring somebody in that's willing to learn.
Amen.
Right?
So true. That was, when people say, well, how, when I was teaching at Templeton too, right? The way I used to do recruiting is I walk down the hall on my way to the office, or I walk back to my room from the office, and I'll see a couple kids, and I'll look at them, hey, what are you doing? How old are you? What grade are you in? I know. Theater? No. What about film? Mm-mm. Okay, why don't you give me a shot today? After school, you bring your friends and come down to my room. We eat first, and then sit in for free. There's nothing that's going to happen here. And I was taught that by a guy named Mr. McGregor. And he was a football coach at Templeton when I was a student there. And I watched some of my friends that we were growing up with, and they were all potheads and getting into fights on the weekend. It was just really stupid. But McGregor would grab Aldo Moro, here's one, and he would just grab him and say, hey, come over here, I want to talk to you. And then he'd put him up against the wall, and he would say, I hear you're not a bad athlete, kid. And I want to see you today in a football field. Give me your word you're going to try it. And then, the first couple of times, they thought, what the fuck you doing? Who are you touching?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, but he didn't give up. He saw Aldo again the next day. And all it took was, boom, Aldo Moro, Pete Contafio, and then all of their buddies were all tough guys, and they all became players on his football team. Mm-hmm. And he did it because he cared about them, and he could see that you're falling off the rails here.
Yeah.
And unless we intervene, we'll lose you in some capacity.
Yeah.
There's one kid that we taught, his name was Joe Calandino, and he went on to become a Hell's Angel. But he was in my drama program, and I knew he was, the guy, his story was, my name's Joe Calandino, and by the time I graduated from high school, whatever it was, 1986 or 85, I had more than 310 fights, and he counted them. Him and the boys, and that's what they did.
That's what they did.
Yeah, and then, but guys like McGregor would ask them. I mean, he's not assaulting them. He's just, come over here, I want to talk to you, right? And this means a lot to me. And you could tell that if you were a teacher with passion for the right reasons, then kids aren't stupid. They can understand the frequency of that conversation. And so you were able to get 2-3 guys in, now you got 10 in. And so it was a really cool thing. I didn't mention this, but when I played soccer as a kid growing up in select teams, and I did really well. But I blew my knee in 84, and I was, on a soccer game. It was ridiculous. But anyway, but I ran into, in my team program, on my team were a guy named Dominic Mobilio, who went on to have a really good career with the Vancouver 86ers, and he played indoor soccer down in the States. He was a beautiful player. And there was another guy named Victor Montagliani. You probably know him or of him. So Victor was on my team, and he was like 16. He was calling me coach already, right? The other guys I was trying to chase him around the field and tell him to stop calling me Jimmy, and I give you a shot right in the back of the head. And, so they finally got it. Okay, Mr. C, coach. But the guy that started that was Victor Montagliani, who is now president of CONCACAF and the vice president of FIFA, because there's one of 6. And he comes every year to speak to the boys club. He came 6 months ago to talk about the whole thing. And, where are we going with all this? In the place where it says, you can do it, I can do it. Mm-hmm. But we're not going to lie to you and say, go home and sleep on the book that says dream about it.
Mhm.
You got to get a plan in place, and you got to hustle. It ain't easy.
Mhm.
And that's what Victor talks about. He said, me, East Vancouver, now I'm all over the world traveling, and now I'm involved with probably the biggest sporting event ever.
Mhm.
And when he told that to the kids, that's where I think, like, I really need Sage. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
He's got the same story, I think, of redemption.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah. So the East End Boys Club,
Mhm.
do you have set programs that you
We have a curriculum.
have a curriculum? Talk about a little bit about that.
Sure. So the curriculum is a curriculum. Well, we have two. One is a curriculum that I've developed, and there's a second curriculum, which it's an organization called the Positivity Program. And so what it is for any teacher, someone who is running an organization with young people in it, what they do is, over the course of a year, the goal of all of these lessons and classes are about developing a strong belief in yourself, to become confident and to build your self-esteem, that anything that you want to do, you can, but here's the road. The Positivity Project comes in and goes, here you go. Character and integrity, developing confidence in yourself, how to apply life skills to everything you do with your life. And so they have a lesson for each day that you can choose from. And they have a lesson each day. And one of them is learning how not to become a victim and your story is a victim. And so what they do is they send over, we have a lesson, we download it, and we talk for 10 minutes about this one concept. And then they give you suggested YouTube videos that will accompany it. And so you have that aspect of it. And you try and do that over the course of maybe 40 to 50 minutes. Because what's happening now in schools, kids, it's like watching TV, right? You either got 23 minutes for a half-hour show or whatever it is, 40-something. But then on YouTube, too, things are quick. So by doing the Positivity Program with the ultimate goal of, learning how to become a man of character and a woman of character and integrity, what does that mean? And so the lessons have been developed by this organization, where they have not only written it, but they've also implemented it. And when this came about for us, and it was my wife, Tina, that was running the girls program, so she went out, and you have to pay for the work, right? But when they heard about our stories and the organization that we have, they said, we don't need your money, and we're just super excited that you guys are using it. And so, a lot of people say, well, does it make it feel like school? No, it doesn't, because in school, they're not talking about, character and integrity. I'm sure they are in various classes, but that's not the driving force. And so, the one thing, I'll give you another example. So there was an example about a kid, and the lesson was about having someone's back. Okay? Having someone's back. Well, we're not doing that in English. We're not doing that in math or science or geography. Having somebody's back. That's like a street smart. And that's what these things are like, right? And so having somebody, so they showed a teacher that was walking down the hall, and it was lunchtime, and there were a bunch of guys, running around and bouncing a basketball. And the teacher goes, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. Me? For what? I didn't do it. Here, gives the ball to the other guy. So boom, 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 boom. This thing's not going very well. He says, I want to talk to you. Please come over here and speak with me. And he comes over, and the other guys are bothering him. Anyway, so the teacher looks and goes, hey, I know that kid. That's Jorah. And Jorah's hanging out with these guys. Now, Jorah's in my program, and he's also on one of my teams. And Jorah turned around like he didn't even know the teacher. So the teacher says, I'm not going to be getting a victory here because this is like all amped up. And so he goes back to his classroom, and the class is entering the room. Anyway, at the end of the class, the teacher says, "Hey, Jorah, you mind if I speak with you for a minute?" And Jorah's not happy about this. Everybody goes. And then the teacher goes on to talk about, you didn't have my back. What does that mean? And he had this conversation, and it's played as a scene.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that a great lesson?
Learning. Yeah.
That's street smart. I mean, sometimes teaching gangsters are easier because they understand, the expectations and boundaries. But so with other kids, you say, man, well, what do you think I should have done? And the kid thinks about it. He comes back to the next class, says, I want to talk to you after. And he sits down with that teacher, and he talks about how he failed to have your back, Mr., whatever it is. Anyway.
So the kids see that.
They do.
And
then we discuss it.
Yeah.
And then we have a really good discussion. And, Mr. Rossi, who's the principal, Jorah, he heard about what happened, and he pulled Jorah into his office, and Mr. Rossi saved Jorah's bacon on several occasions. And so now there was another lesson that came at a higher level. Now this other person is. So really, bro, what are we talking about here? And so if we can do that with these life skills, they can apply that to whatever it is they choose to do with their life. So,
how young are the kids?
Between 13 and I want to say 19. We have an alumni program, which is for young people that are just graduated from high school, maybe gone to university, and they're 19, and they go all the way up until 31. And they have a curriculum of their own. And it's the other thing they do is what we're teaching the kids as well, one of those positivity lessons, which is, the importance of how did he put it? It's the importance of learning how to develop relationships with people and the value of that, and how that can help you on a personal level, for example, into the world of business. Now, what's been really exciting is we have three of our students. I got to tell you about this Catholic thing. Anyway, I'll tell you I would like to talk to you a little bit about Corpus Christi.
What?
Yeah?
Sure.
So Corpus Christi, about 10 years ago, we found out about Corpus Christi and St. Mark's College. So it's a college campus right on the University of British Columbia's campus. Beautiful heritage buildings, gorgeous campus, as you know, UBC, stunning. And so one of the people that was working at Corpus, one of the deans, or the president, he said, listen, Tom Cooper is a very good friend of ours, but Tom is also one of my mentors. He has an organization called City in Focus. They do a prayer breakfast and a prayer dinner next week, towards the end of the week, Friday, Saturday. You have 1,000 men and women that come to the Hyatt Regency. The provincial government is there. Some ministers of education are there from federally, but also some from a city perspective. Anyway, so Tom said, I think we should really invite Jimmy Crescenzo and bring some of his kids to this prayer breakfast. So immediately people go, whoop, prayers. You're going to call it prayer breakfast? oh no, don't tell me we're going to get into this. And sure enough, right? The politics get involved and go prayer breakfast. We say, listen, here's the concept of this event. It's called the British Columbia Leadership Prayer Breakfast. They're not slamming Catholicism into somebody at a table. They're not doing the evangelicals. They're not talking about Muslims. What they do is Tom, who sponsors us, he brings people together that come from all the different faiths that are here in the world. And the government is there. Like Mr. Rebbe will be one of the speakers, the premier. And it's such a cool concept. So we went, and the kids loved it. And the thing with Corpus Christi, they said, Jimmy, we'd like to give your kids a scholarship to come to Corpus Christi for 2 years. It's a 2-year program. You do your first 2 years of your undergraduate there, a degree. And then after your second year, you can transfer to UBC SFU to finish off year 3 and 4. But we understand that the kids that you teach, they don't have this kind of money. And I said, no, the stats are, and Templeton did this when I was teaching there, that anywhere between 30 and 35% of the families that are in East Vancouver are still living below the poverty line. And people think, no, you got a bunch of yuppies there. They're building, they're renovating those beautiful heritage homes.
Gentrified everything.
Yeah, they gentrified everything, right? And said, well, you're missing the boat. There's a whole bunch of people who don't have very much money at all. So they liked that concept. We talked about it. And they said, why don't we get started and maybe give you a couple to start with? 2 bursaries that will cover tuition and books for your first 2 years of your undergraduate degree. Wow, cool. And wait a minute. No, something here is, what about church? You got St. Mark's College. Corpus Christi is the name of the body of Christ. I mean, where are we going here? And I said, no, nobody has to go to church here. Nobody has to read any books about religion.
No strings.
Nothing at all. And I thought, nah, it's too good to be true. Well, it was not too good to be true because it's beautiful. And so now we have anywhere between 6 and 8 scholarships per year. They're worth $30,000 each. And they love our kids because when our kids are there, they volunteer for things. They're also understand the importance of building and relationships with people. And when they go, they'll say, how can I help?
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
That is.
So 6 kids to 8 kids, no religion thing at all about it. The good news is, out of those kids in the last 3-4 years, 3 of them have gotten in at Sauder School of Business, which is very difficult to get into.
Yeah.
They have, I don't know how many thousand applications in. Yeah. 3 of our boys, 2 are into their last year, and 1 starts in September. The odds of doing that are, and that's not only because of the boys club, but because of what Corpus is doing. They're saying, why are we subjecting kids to sit in rooms with 150 and 200 people when you're doing a course, whether it's in business, everything from sciences, forestry to, well, at Corpus Christi, they have only less than 40 kids in a room. So when a young man or young woman in our boys club program or our girls club program, they need help after class, there's no problem.
How do you choose the kids in your program to get into that?
So what we do is we find out every young person that is graduating from any of the programs that we offer. And we offer them at a couple of different schools as well. So we probably have about 120, 130 girls club members now. And we do the same thing with our boys. We're looking at about 120 to 130 young men. So starting in grade 11, we're starting to groom them and thinking about, okay, who wants to do what? Well, grade 12, now the grade 12s are kind of going, okay, I'd like to go to school, but I don't have any money. And so Mr. Aquilini, who's the president, as you know, the owner of the Canucks, he loves the program, and he's made a commitment to pay for any young man or any young woman who wants to get into the trades, that he will cover the cost for their program. The Corpus Christi people, man, the confidence that they taught those kids how to stand up and learn, it's been phenomenal. So there's results when we do our stats about who's, you know, and so you got 6 there. Then you're looking at about another 15, maybe 20 kids that want to do something other than go to Corpus. Maybe they want to go into something else. Then we sit down with our donors, and we have donors that put up funds to pay for them to go to school.
So you've got to. It seems like but this came up on the when we were actually, you and I were having a phone conversation. We were talking about the specific individual, Sage, and you brought up like there's an athletics component to it, but there's an education component to it, because the chances of the athletics component working out, that's like
it's tough.
It's tough. So education, you're never going to go wrong with education. You're not, whatever that trades, whatever. But So I have a question that this is leading to a question. How do you balance the athletics, the mentorship, and the accountability and the academic support, all of those things, because you're talking about some, 4 major things, and what tends to happen if somebody's really good in a sport or excels in something, it's really difficult. Like, and I'll use Manny as an example.
Sure.
Manny talking about, finding his way in boxing and then becoming a school teacher, and, him going down to Miami and seeing a world champion boxer sleeping on the floor, going, okay, man, I got to get an education. Okay. Well, that's smart.
Yes.
Going and when we were talking specifically about Sage, you brought that up too. I'm not going to, I can't guarantee it because I didn't bring it up, but that never came up in the conversation with him, and saying, listen, you know what? Have you thought about, an education and working that into your story, but also becoming educated and continuing on with your boxing journey.
Yeah.
And that excited me too. And
Awesome.
okay, I never thought about that. Never really thought about that. So how do you balance those things? I guess that's a pretty big question.
Yeah, I mean, we have to be very cognizant of the kids that we work with. And it was something that I learned when I was teaching theater at Templeton, and and I remember a teacher that I considered a master teacher. He said, Jerry, I understand that maybe you want to go into counseling. I said, well, I don't know. I'm thinking about it maybe. And he says, well, you better learn. If you want to be successful, you better learn about each of your kids, that what they like for dinner and what they like to do for exercise. And I thought he was being a smartass, right? But in essence, the message was, find out what makes somebody tick. And the master teachers, in my opinion, they have all that knowledge because they go out of their way to find out, like, what is, Rico's passion? What is he doing that is not doing well at? And so you got to take the time to get to know each of the kids that you work with. Now, I can't obviously do all 300 and whatever it is, but the teachers that we have in place, some are teachers, some are not, as far as mentors. And that's the very first thing I talk about with them. Make sure that you understand that each and every single person that's going to be in our room, that you guys are going to find out things in a good way. So that way, when you're having conversations, well, maybe the conversation shifts and it talks about, the kid losing his dad. Because now that's an entrance, right? And that's kind of where, when I was mentored, when I first started teaching, that's what a lot of those mentors for me, the teachers that were there, it was old school stuff, but a lot of them were in tune with what was going on. So you got to get to know each kid. Then what you have to do is you have to put a plan in place and say, okay, what do they want to do when they graduate? You got Tina and Tanya and Kathleen Deacon. they got the girls in East Van, and sure enough, we've got 3 girls. We have 2 girls in Corpus now. We have another 2 that are going to be coming from the girls program. So, in a shortened version to your answer, or to your question was, we have to know every single young person to figure out what makes them tick, what's good, what's bad, what's the home life like. Then we can sit down, we can have talks amongst us as adults and say, why don't we shape this future a bit here? And, there's a lot of people that say, oh, you want to send your kids to university. And, we say, guess what? We're trying to tell our kids not so much to go to university, but we're telling them there are opportunities for jobs when you go out and you get into a trade.
Yes.
Period. Mm-hmm. And we're lying to the kids if we're not telling them that.
Yeah. So, you've been this program, the East End Boys Club, has been going for 10, 11 years now?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you, we're sort of working to wrap things up, but I've got some questions. Was there 1 or 2 moments where you really felt in your bones that you made a difference, that you must have had more than that? Yeah. Can you give us a couple of examples where you really, like that kid had a shitty life.
Yeah.
And look what we did here. It shows as an example, a shining star. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a?
Well, I've got a kid that's with me today. Not a kid. He's 21 years old. His name's Brandon. And today I've got all these different things. And so Brandon's driving me around. I pay him, but he drives me to some meetings and things that I got to take care of. Our relationship with the boys and the girls that we're working with, the relationship, the young person that we're working with, they need to be able to trust you as an adult, that what you're doing is you're going to do this for the right reasons and the benefit. And sometimes that means everything about the work we do with kids, it's all about love. And that means we do love you unconditionally. We know you got some baggage or some stuff here that really needs to work out, but we care about you and we want to help you become the best version of yourself that you can be. But when you do that, the kid looks at you and he might not even acknowledge it, so you think, but 9 times out of 10 they do. And so our students are not afraid to have open discussions about love, about, family, about, things going on at school. So we have these very frank conversations. So Brandon, that's with me, I said, Brandon, I'm so very proud of you, man. When I start to use those kinds of sentences, it just opens a way for him to feel confident in giving you something back. And he said to me, well, sir, I don't know what I would do without you if you weren't here. And I look at that and I go, holy shit, I didn't tell him to say that. But that's because the language that we speak is exactly coming from a place of love at all times. We've got some young men that have gone on to do really great things in the world. So what about, and I have 2022, we graduated 22 boys from the boys club, and all of them were really going in the right direction, and we helped who we could. And there was, anyway, and so what ended up happening was there was a young man, his name was Edward. I won't give you the last name, but Edward was he hung out with all his friends. They were all Asians, right? And Edward, I looked at him one day, the kid came over to me and goes, hey, sir, you better have a talk with Edward. He's outside. He's bawling his head off. Really? What happened? Well, he's under the tree. It's about school. Go, check it out. And I said, okay, well, here we go. What's going on, bro? How you doing? And he was so broken. And he said, I didn't get into solder. And I said, yeah, but you just graduated. I mean, there's other times that you can apply. What's the big deal? No, you don't understand. In my community and in my home with Chinese parents, is they want me to get in like now. And if you're not in school, in university for a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, they consider you as being a failure. And he said, what am I going to tell them? I said, you know what you're going to tell them is something that I'm going to share with all of your friends. And I said, I want you to come in and sit down and let's go for it. So I brought him in and I talked to him. I said, so what do you think some of the, what are some of the perception that people have about you and your friends here? And they put up their hand and go, well, they automatically think because I'm Asian that I got great marks and I'm going on to university and to school and nothing's going to get in my way. And so then I looked at Edward. Edward, what about you, bro? What's going on with you? And then he said, well, my family just doesn't get it. If I didn't get in. I said, but what kind of an average did you have? He said, I had a 92 average and you didn't get in. And he said, well, what else was there? So we had to write an essay about ourselves, who, what, where, when, and why. And I said, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to break the mold right now. Guess what? All 12 of you right here that want to get into business, during the summer program, I've got a former student of mine who's now directing theater in England, doing unbelievably well. And I said, he's coming to town. I'm going to hire him, and he's going to direct an adapted version of Macbeth with all guys, and it would be a 45, 50-minute play. And they all looked at me and go, what? I said, yeah. And there's no, you're not gonna say no, because I'll tell you, here it is. Each one of you guys is going to be supported financially, and you're going to do it or you won't get that. So he said, why would you do that to us? We don't do stuff like that. I said, that's exactly why we're going to do it. So each one of you, for the first week, Kevin, the director, said, I don't know what's going to happen, Jimmy. These guys are nuts. They're going to kill each other any minute. Mm-hmm. And I said, just keep going, man. Stay the course. So they did. Second week, they still depressed, angry, crying. Fuck, I don't want to do this. At the end of the program, we did an opportunity. We did the play for people that they could invite to come in. And sure enough, there they were doing Macbeth. And people are doing double takes. What? Ricky? Edward? No. Uh-huh. And all of a sudden, after the first couple of minutes, they started opening up. And they said, wow, like, we love this experience. I can't think, like, how did you know how to do this? I said, oh, I don't. It's a risk sometimes. Yeah. But it worked. Mm-hmm. And it helped you overcome your own adversity, but also to give you guys more of a scope. It's not just sitting in a room and doing your math and your science and your physics and your chemistry. There's life outside of that. So Edward, he said, all right. So what happened was Corpus Christi hired Edward, who didn't get in the first time, and they hired him, and he was working in their office doing what? Cold calls, trying to raise money for the school. Wow. And he did it all summer. And you know what? Everybody's so blown away by Edward doing that. And now he's completely turned. Mm-hmm. So Edward and all those guys looked at me, and they said, you know what? You changed my outlook about life by giving me this opportunity, and I want to thank you for it. And so those are lessons that we get in just quiet conversations sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. In wrapping things up here, there's not only the kids, but it's also the neighborhood and the community, right? And that's a big, and that's caring about the community, caring about the neighborhood, having someone's back, all of those things. And the kids that come through the program, that's all. So basically what you're saying is the East End Boys Club, the Boys Club, is one where you're taking somebody that has a good chance of failure. Yeah. If not guided and brought along.
Right direction.
In the right direction. And if they're willing, they're willing to, I don't want to say buy in to the program.
That's okay. Yeah. It is. Absolutely.
If they're willing to buy into the program, the support is there. The mentorship is there.
Yes.
The community is there. Everything that you need to have that self-confidence and that sort of relates back to what you're talking about with the kids not making it into soccer
Yeah.
school and going, hey, we're doing a play. And you're going, what the fuck are you talking about? Play.
Tough.
Well, no, we're teaching you something here.
Yeah.
That's not all about that.
Yeah.
It's about everything else.
Amen.
Right?
Yeah. Well said.
So
That's exactly it.
in closing out here, because we have been talking here for just over, it's surprising how the
Sorry
time
about
flies
that.
in an hour. That's cool.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to reach out to the East End Boys Club,
Absolutely.
how would they go?
We have a website.
Okay.
And it's www.eeboysclub.com. And even if they punch in Boys Club Vancouver,
It'll come up.
It'll all come up. And they can look at our website. We will have, like right now, we have 24 different programs we're offering in spring, summer right now. Everything from, doing monologues in theater or taking first aid and what's the other one? Food safe, practical things. Yeah. So people can look it up on the website, and we have our emails there, and all they have to do is look us up, give us an email, and there's also phone numbers there. And if anybody wants to give me a call, I'm happy to help in any way I can. All these spring, summer courses, they're all free. So there's no cost, and
Very cool.
yeah, so I think they'll enjoy it.
Well, Jimmy, thank you
you.
so much, Jimmy Crescenzo, for coming
Pleasure.
out and spending the afternoon here and talking.
Yeah,
It's been a pleasure to
Thank you,
find out
brother.
a lot more about the East End Boys Club, about you
wonderful.
and about the community and things you do, and hopefully, and I really hope that you and Sage can hook up.
Oh yeah,
And
he's in. I'm going to make him in.
Well, that's
Yeah.
just perfect. That's
Because he's
perfect.
got a great story.
Yeah.
And I watched him. He's a very charismatic guy.
He is.
And but I know it's for the right reason.
Yeah.
And it's okay to have a little show, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Why not? So I really want him to come in and do like a spring, summer thing for a couple hours,
He'll do it.
2 to 3 hours. Yeah.
He'll do
And
it.
to talk about his life.
He'll do it. Well,
So-
Jimmy, thank you so much.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. It's been a real pleasure meeting you.
You may be asking yourself, what's any of this got to do with me? Absolutely nothing. Until next time.